Good evening.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Gloria Baker, and I am the founder and president of Veterans Preference here in San Diego, California. Our organization works to prevent homelessness for female veterans, and particularly female veterans with children. We're also a military advocacy organization with a focus on getting our veterans financial. We're concerned with the financial well-being of active duty service members, veterans, and their families. Uh, and we do this by providing educational seminars and trainings like the one you see here. We have other resources that we can provide to veterans. Last month, we had speaker from VA Health and VA Benefits. Of course, tonight we have Dr. Melson speaking about VA claims and services. And next month, we'll have a gentleman speaking about veterans and Medicare. That'll be all we'll do through the end of this year because next year, starting first quarter, we're going to be talking about veterans and homes. One more thing before I turn everything over to Dr. Melson, I want to thank one of our partner organizations, nonprofit organizations, the National Association for Black Veterans. Thank you, Commander Philip Harris, for your support. And with that, I am going to turn everything over to Dr. Melson.
Good evening. Very good to be with you. Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Baker, for your introduction and for the wonderful and very important service that you and your organization do every day for our American veteran community. You are deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
As Mrs. Baker indicated, I'm Dr. Rudy Melson. I'm a VA claims agent. That simply means that I am licensed by the Department of Veterans Affairs to prepare, present, and prosecute claims and appeals for VA benefits on behalf of the American veteran community and the American military community. I'm also the president and founder of a business called Consultants for America's Veterans, based out of San Diego, California. And we perform a variety of different services for our American veteran and military communities, not solely just claims administered by the VA. We perform a variety of other services, such as helping veterans and service members find employment, find homes, find, let's just call it a path toward being made whole. After many experience fragmentation from military service, we try to make the veteran whole again to the best of our abilities, both domestically and internationally. So I am specifically based in Escondido, California. The website for my organization is www.consult, C-O-N-S-U-L-T, vets.com. This evening, I am here to effectively provide some insight into some of the things that, oh, by the way, that's consult vets without the S before, C-O-N-S-U-L-T-V-E-T-S. I'm here this evening to help address some of the lingering questions that have been out there by constituents of both communities, the military and veteran communities, insofar as what people are experiencing, hardships they're experiencing, changes that are going on within VA, and how they are unfolding and impacting veterans and service members and their families. I'm also here to answer questions. I'm also happy to have follow-ups with any of you that are interested in any of the services my organization provides. If I can help you with your benefits or with anything else that I may be suited to help you, I'd be deeply honored to at least attempt to do so. And so please feel free to reach out to me there after the presentation. I'm also accompanied here this evening by an individual that I work with that I'll introduce a little later. So as far as where we are today with respect to the state of play, if you will, we've got about 22 million veterans in the world, U.S. veterans, and about 6 million of them draw benefits from the VA, and that's broken up into the Veterans Benefits Administration, the National Health Administration, and the National Cemetery Administration. And so you've got this incredible institution called the Department of Veterans Affairs. It has the second largest budget or part of our overall budget from the federal government. It's part of congressional mandatory spend. And effectively, that means that for those of you that are concerned about whether or not Congress is going to pass a bill to allow our government to be funded, do not worry. VA benefits will never be affected. They are always to be funded. It's in the fabric, effectively, of our nation's existence to care for our veterans. And that is important for folks to realize, because many veterans hearing the banter in Washington and all the sound bites there become very frustrated and very concerned that their benefits will be affected. So I'm here to tell you that's simply not going to happen. With respect to, I see some over here, some messages. I will at the very end, I promise, I'll leave plenty of time to have any dialogue. I won't talk for the full scope of this, I promise you that. But I'll definitely, if you have a question, I will definitely answer it. I'll come over to the questions that are being asked, I promise. With respect to the time that we have, I wanted to take an opportunity to just encourage you to consider a few things that you may find helpful. VA benefits, in large part, pertain to, on the disability side, that which has been incurred during or aggravated during one's active military service. Okay, so if you come into military service with a pre-existing condition and it is, let's say, aggravated during a course of active duty, it doesn't have to be aggravated by active duty. It can be aggravated during active duty. That is the standard. VA has something called a principle of liberal interpretation. It is perhaps the most liberal and call it humanitarian and less stringent part of the federal law that we citizens of the United States and everyone else that is in the United States have to adhere to, the laws and regulations of our federal government. So for our veteran community, that's veterans and service members and their families, laws are very liberal in how they're interpreted. So to have a disability service connected means that an event or an injury or an episode occurred in service. It doesn't have to mean that it was caused by service. You could literally be home on leave at a bar having a celebration with a friend because you just passed a major test in the Army or whatever have you. You got promoted and you want to have a celebration. Something unfortunate happens. Maybe you had too many drinks and you slipped and fell and you hurt yourself somehow. Or you went home and, you had this terrible reaction to something you ate if you were at a party or out for dinner and you required the attention of medical personnel. Anything that could be documented during service that is medical in nature can have an adverse impact on you. And that is potentially compensable and adverse impact on your health for that matter. So to that end, I want you to keep in mind that anything and everything can potentially count, to include that which happens during one's initial active duty for training. So your boot camp or your basic training, that counts as well. Even if you're a reservist or a member of the National Guard, what happens in boot camp and in your specialty training can count as well. So please don't ever discount that. To the effect that you are someone that is a member of the National Guard or you are in the reserve, the periods of time that you are on active duty that correspond to your annual training, many people don't know this, but that time can also potentially count as well. So please understand that anytime you're on a period of active duty, whether you are in the National Guard and that is Title 32, or whether you enlist in the reserve or the active component and that's Title 10, your period of time counts potentially to compensate you for a disability incurred during or aggravated during active duty service. So we have the factual need for an event, an episode, or there to be some kind of diagnosis or treatment or even a complaint of a condition to have taken place during active duty service. The next component is something called chronicity. So there has to be some reasonable degree of resurfacing or recurrence of that condition you're claiming. So for example, if I hurt my knee during active duty, well, I want to make sure that between the time that I discharge from service and the time that I file a claim, I'm talking to someone. It could be a loved one. Ideally, it would be someone in a medical capacity so that it's documented. After all, if you have an injury, hopefully gone to the days where you feel that you don't have to speak about it. Hopefully we're moving toward an era where people can address their conditions and not be afraid or hesitant, have any trepidation whatsoever of addressing it. And this isn't just something that is physical in nature. VA is deeply concerned, as is the Department of Defense, for things that are concerning one's mind, one's mental health, and the wonderful things that the VA is doing, and the wonderful things that are happening from the Department of Defense to address mental and physical health should give all of us pause and cause, for that matter, to be proud of our respective VA and Department of Defense. To that end, it's important to have it documented that the condition simply didn't go away, that it's still a bothersome part of your life. And that establishes chronicity, or at least it attempts to do so. And then finally, at the time you either make the claim or before then, if you can establish that that condition, which occurred during service, which progressed beyond service, which you've now demonstrated because you've gotten it treated beyond service, it now is diagnosable. And so to that end, if it is diagnosable, that is an important key component to achieving what is called service connection. If you are a veteran who either does not want to be compensated for a condition during service, okay, or you are someone who maybe doesn't qualify for that, but you are a veteran who is at least 65 years old and has a total aggregate, it doesn't have to be consecutive, but a total aggregate of at least 90 days of active duty. So that could be 5 days here and 10 days there and 20 days there and so on and so forth until you get to a total of at least 90 days. And just one of those days is during a period of a congressionally declared war, okay, or a war that our federal government has acknowledged to be a war that is a qualifying period of wartime. So this is World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Grenada. This is certainly the war on terrorism, the various conflicts involving Iraq and Afghanistan. And there are a variety of other conflicts, the Persian Gulf, or the first Persian Gulf War in the early 90s. These are effectively campaigns that, as long as you've got a period of 90 days, and one of those 90 days was during any of these periods of conflict, of qualifying conflict, you can potentially qualify for what's called an income-based pension, which has nothing to do with disability. And so to that end, also, a question has surfaced quite often in my line of work where veterans wonder, hey, is a pension or compensation claim taxable? 100% the opposite. It is not taxable. Your pension, if it is income-based, is not taxable income. You don't even have to report it during your tax activity with your respective accountant. Your compensation, so we'll separate the two. Pension is income-based, and compensation is disability-based. Okay, so when you file what is called an intent to file, there's a section there which asks you to declare, are you wanting to file for pension or compensation? Compensation pertains to disability. Pension pertains to either survivor's benefits or it pertains to a veteran saying that his or her income is low enough that it meets the poverty threshold. And that veteran has at least one day during an aggregate of 90 days, where that one day is during a period of war, as we discussed. Another common misconception out there, and then I'll start to address the questions which are mounting as I see. Another common misconception is, hey, if I'm 100% rated by the Department of Veterans Affairs, will that preclude me from being able to work? The answer is no. There are two main ways to achieve a 100% evaluation. One is a straight 100%, where the aggregate of your service-connected disabilities result in a 100% outcome. 100% overall rating evaluation by the Department of Veterans Affairs. The other is for you to be an individual that is at least has an overall rating of at least 70% disabling, with one disability that comprises that 70% aggregate being rated at 40%. Okay, that is called individual unemployability or total disability based on individual unemployability. And if you're granted TDIU, total disability based on individual unemployability, and you go back to work while drawing TDIU, you have an obligation to inform the VA, but they will allow you to work for up to 12 months, 12 full months after you've been granted that individual unemployability. And on the 13th month, they will subject you to an evaluation. And then at that point, the evaluation will either reduce you back to where you were, increase you depending on how severely disabled you are, or sustain your grant of individual unemployability if the Department of Veterans Affairs determines that your employment activity is not one that would violate the essence of being unemployable, substantially and gainfully unemployable for full-time employment. You can still potentially be qualifiable for TDIU if you have part-time employment, or if you have, let's call it, employment that may be seasonal or referred to as like an odd job here and there. That doesn't necessarily render you unqualifiable for that. Okay, so I'll start addressing some of these questions because I think there are about maybe 30 of them that have mounted so far. Nexus letters are created by healthcare professionals who effectively are supposed to review medical evidence, and that can be ideally the gold standard is a physician or a physician's assistant or a nurse practitioner, or someone with a medical credential. VA uses nurses to essentially recommend nexus statements to them, nexus recommendations. So you can use a nurse. Okay. And if you're going to go out there to your doctor, provide your doctor with a copy of your service treatment record. Many of you don't have that. So if you have a representative such as myself, we can, or you can, put forth what is called a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, to get a copy of your record. You would then give that to your healthcare provider, who would also examine you. And it's important that that healthcare provider state in his or her statement that that individual reviewed your medical records and then could essentially state in good faith that their recommendation is empowered by a review of your records. That's very important to the VA, that that healthcare provider not only made a recommendation, but made a recommendation in conjunction with examining you as well as reviewing carefully your medical records. Okay. There are a ton of questions here. I don't know if I can, I'm going to go back to the very beginning. Okay. So I see we have an Army veteran here, from Vietnam. Thank you for your service. Thank all of you for your service. It's such an honor to be amongst all of you. I didn't mention this in my introduction, but I'm also a veteran. I served in the Army and I served in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. So from one veteran to, it seems, all others, at least, or spouses of veterans or children of veterans who may be here, thank you so very much for your service. God bless you. We have here, okay, I see a retired Navy individual. I hope you won't hold it against me that you're listening to someone who served in the Army. And over here, okay, so I just want to put out there, the website is consultvets.com. My phone number, which I'm happy to give to any and all of you, is 914-882-8223. Again, that is 914-882-8223. I respectfully request if you could text me first with your name and your email address so that I can reach out to you through email initially, and then we can have a dialogue from that point forward. I'm happy to try to assist you. I do represent veterans initially on claims at absolutely no cost. Appeals may or may not be subject to a fee agreement, but I perform all initial reviews of your records absolutely free of charge. And I present you with a full proposal so that if you would like to retain me for my services, you have at least a full perspective of what you're eligible for. And if you would like to at least take the information that I've provided to you by way of my review, which again is at no charge to you, you can take that and pursue services elsewhere if you would like to, or you can retain me to assist you, in which case I would be delighted to potentially do that. Okay, so I'm looking here for more questions. I have been denied a VA disability on back from an accident in '91 because I have never complained about back before medically discharged. for knees instead. Okay. In general, if you have been denied, the time frame to appeal is within 1 year of that denial. Now, sometimes VA commits what are called CUEs, clear and unmistakable errors, where they've made an undebatable error. There was evidence there that they say was not there, or they said that they denied you because they looked at the wrong body part. They looked at the right knee when you claimed the left knee, or there was evidence there that they said wasn't there. These are very undebatable errors, and the threshold to prove them are very high. Having said that, I've certainly been successful in proving CUEs in my career. Happy to look at that for you. But if you've been denied something and it's been more than a year and you have not appealed it, then certainly we could potentially reopen it up with either what's called a new theory of entitlement or new evidence. A new theory of entitlement being, hey, I was denied hearing loss because I was around a tank. I'm claiming that tank, and every time it went off, it caused a ringing in my ears, tinnitus, and also hearing loss. But now, the VA denied me for that. And now 5 years later, I want to come back because my hearing loss is just a real big problem for me in my life. Now I've got to come back with what's called a new theory of entitlement. So maybe I'll bring a buddy statement. A buddy statement can be from anybody. Can be from your wife, your child, can be from someone you serve with, can be from your supervisor where you work, can be from a colleague, can be from a friend or family member. Or maybe I have new evidence from an audiologist who feels that, hey, this is related to that and I want to submit that. Or maybe I change the theory of entitlement. Maybe I say, hey, I was an infantryman and I was around a lot of noise, or I was on a tanker, or I was on a ship, or whatever the case may be, or I flew planes. And that's behind my hearing loss. So VA has to look at new theories and new evidence. Okay, and I'm just going to creep my way up the list here. Okay, let's see what we have. Have been in appeal for 2 years and cannot get any info about the status. Your representative, if you appoint one, if you appoint me, your representative can look into that for you and help you with that. If you could put the question that was just back on the screen, because I didn't get to see that. Thank you. So at 90%, tried to get to 100%, no joy. How hard is it to get the last 10%? Is it possible? It's absolutely possible. Getting from 90 to, I'll explain. So you have to be at least at 94.5%, which rounds to 95%, which rounds to 100. If you're at 94.4% or less, you're not going to get it. So we have to see, because every disability corresponds to a schedule of ratings that the VA has that Congress creates. And each disability has different intervals of ratings commensurate to the severity of the disability. For example, headaches. Depending on how many headaches you get a week or a month, depending if the headaches are prostrating, if they cause you to have to lay down, depending on if they interfere with your ability to work or to earn, you could be looking at a 10% or a 30% or a 50% respectively. So it all depends on how severe your condition is. Okay. And so what if the event was 30 years ago? The event could be 30 years ago, and then I would want to know, well, what's happened in the last 30 years? And is anyone alive to talk to, anyone who you've known over that period of time that can speak to your condition that happened 30 years ago? Do you have medical records over the last 30 years that speak to any of the symptoms? Maybe they don't provide a diagnosis, but maybe they show the symptomology there. Folks, we get creative, rightfully so. It depends on the doctor. If you go to a comp and pen doctor, if the VA has you go to one, that doctor is supposed to be impartial. A lot of times the doctors are not, unfortunately. Sometimes the doctors are very tough in how they review the evidence, and they're not inclined to really give you the benefit of the doubt. So you have to make your best case possible. And people like me, our job, or at least our job should be inclusive of this, to prepare you for those exams. The exams are crucial because that's when you get to tell your story and you get to present your condition in a way strategically that demonstrates effectively, hey, this is what it is, a day in my life dealing with this condition. So we prepare well and we present evidence and arguments to help you get that compensation approval. When I say we have to get creative, we have to be able to demonstrate and provide substantial evidence where maybe evidence didn't exist before. Sometimes disabilities also can be secondary. For example, I recently, unfortunately, had a veteran that I represent. That veteran passed away. That veteran had COVID. He died of complications from COVID. Well, that veteran also had PTSD. And the PTSD, it turns out, was permitted by the doctor who signed his death certificate to be included on his death certificate. And the reason for that is because the doctor agreed that the stress effects and the blood pressure effects from the PTSD worsened this veteran's overall capacity to withstand the effects of COVID. So it heightened his vulnerability to expire from COVID. So on death certificates, for someone who's the surviving spouse of a veteran, whether it's the husband or the wife, that person can get what's called a DIC, a death and indemnity compensation. It's a form of survivor's pension if the service member or the husband or spouse in this case died of a condition that doesn't have to be the primary reason for death, but it has to be listed on the death certificate as an attributable cause of death. Okay, so that's also very important. And that also is a tax-free pension, and that individual would be eligible for a variety of other benefits as well. Okay, what if we were hurt but too scared to report it? Scared as in didn't want to appear weak. That unfortunately is something that many service members deal with. It's more so something that a lot of people who feared that, hey, this could impact my military career, it could impact unit cohesion, it might make me, it might damage the mission, or it might get me kicked out of the service, and I didn't want that. So that unfortunately only goes so far in the eyes of the law. But what you could do is you could provide a buddy statement from someone that served with you, if someone exists, or if you talk to a friend or a family member at the time then when the condition bothered you, you can have that individual provide a buddy statement. Hey, I remember speaking to Steve, and Steve told me that this was bothering him during this time. Or maybe you have medical evidence after you got out of service where you got that condition addressed. So there are different things we can look to try to overcome the absence of evidence. Can you put that last question up again? I'm sorry, I didn't see it in time. Do buddy statements actually work for supporting a claim that we didn't complain about? And is it not in our records? Yes, it is. Buddy statements have the legal effect of affidavits in a court of law. At the end of a buddy statement, which is called a VA Form 4138, which, a buddy statement doesn't have to be on a 4138, but VA prefers that it is, because a VA 4138 is a statement in support of claim. And at the bottom of it, you are swearing or affirming that the testimony provided in the 4138 is the truth and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge. So it is certainly important evidence. Does it always work? No, it doesn't always work. But does it often work? More often than not, it does. So we would present that as well. For BDD, filed a month ago, no action yet, 90 days to retirement now, stationed overseas. Okay. So in your situation, your case would fall under the Pittsburgh Regional Office, because the Pittsburgh Regional Office has jurisdiction over all what are called foreign veterans. And I know that sounds weird because no U.S. veteran is a foreign veteran. You're an American veteran, but you're based in a foreign land. So that comes under a specialized scope, which is handled by the Pittsburgh Regional Office. If you contact me, I'd be happy to look into the status of that and try to represent you on that BDD claim and figure out what's going on. According to the VA, I don't have enough evidence to prove that my back issues were caused from my accident when I was on active duty. Okay, so in such a situation, you would go and procure new evidence. Okay, you would approach your doctor and explain what happened, and hopefully that doctor would substantiate that there's at least as likely as not 50% probability or greater connection between what it is your current manifestation, the manifestation of your disability is now, and that which you're claiming took place during service. Okay, who do we talk to in changing verbiage or disability in your disability? Who do we talk to in changing a verbiage? Okay, well, that would come from a doctor, and if VA has interpreted your condition improperly, then that would need to be clarified either by provision of your representative intervening with medical evidence to clarify that, or if you were denied because the VA said that you don't have a disability that you do, or that you do that you don't. In either scenario, a claim for a correction would be made, and you would probably be called in for a comp and pen exam where that examiner would be asked to clarify the diagnosis. Okay. Can I get disabilities that not documented on my health records, but the VA hospital gave me the diagnosis. Yes, you can. So I'll explain. Veterans Health Administration records are always a place. The Veterans Benefits Administration, the people that make decisions on your benefits, they have access to the Veterans Health Administration. So if it helps, that's the first place they look, because they want to see if you are a veteran who's utilizing the Veterans Health Administration. So they'll look to see internally where those records are and if any of them support what happened during service. To that end, if you're a veteran who was hurt or harmed and you have a new disability at the hands of VA, if VA was negligent, if there was, or maybe there was a disability that inadvertently came about that was beyond the scope of what was known to be a possible risk or outcome from a medical procedure or a medication. For example, you go in for surgery and they tell you all these different possible outcomes that could happen. Or if they didn't tell you something, there might be something that is still known to be acceptable as a repercussion of having that procedure within the field of medicine. If something happened that was beyond the scope of the expectation, you can be compensated for that through what's called an 1151 claim. And so they will service connect the new disability and put it in the mixture of your existing disabilities and therefore increase your overall rating. Okay. So I have tried to get my doctor from the VA, but he refuses to write a nexus letter. That's something very, very well known. May I suggest that because obviously you're going into this perspective of you want the Benefits Administration to acknowledge your disability and to compensate you accordingly. To that end, I would imagine you probably also want to approach this because you want treatment as well for it. So having a discussion with your doc at the VA is about treatment, approaching it from the angle of treatment. The Benefits Administration will look at that and they'll be able to hopefully take that and apply it as evidence toward your other goal, which is to be compensated for it. A lot of times VA docs get the impression that you're just going there because you want a nexus letter to be compensated for. So may I suggest that hey doc, I'm here to explore my options for treatment. I want to talk to you about disabilities that I got while I was in service. And I'd like your opinion. I'd like to know what medications you feel I should be on or therapies you feel I should take advantage of. Talk about the etiology of the condition from your perspective as having occurred in service, and ask that it be memorialized in your progress notes, especially since it's a very true statement that it is likely that at some point in the evolution of you being a patient in the Veterans Health Administration, you will have other doctors, and they'll be able to benefit from seeing what that doctor wrote for purposes of continuity of care. What if I had a substance abuse issue while in basic and AI training that was known by officers and then got incarcerated but was never treated for substance abuse and mental health by the Army? I'd have to look into the circumstances of that. I'll tell you right now that veterans who have physical disabilities and mental disabilities often turn to substance abuse. And so what we do is we blame the substance abuse as a secondary issue, secondary to the primary issue, which was pain or mental distress. And that somehow mitigates it and allows the new disability from that substance abuse, whether it be a liver issue or whether it be some other issue or a gastric issue or what have you, or a new depressive issue. If depression wasn't the primary one, it could be the secondary one. We would get that service connected. If I'm receiving SSDI, loss of use of two limbs, am I automatically 100% with the VA? It depends if you lost those limbs as a result of military service as service-connected disabilities. SSDI does not imply eligibility for VA benefits, and vice versa. VA eligibility does not imply eligibility for SSDI benefits. So keep that in mind as well. Okay. My phone number again, 914-882-8223. It sounds so easy, but I've reported injuries and it's been diagnosed from the first incident. Okay. For specifics, I would invite you to contact me directly. I can be glad to help you in any way that I can. A more general question here for DEA, Dependents Education Assistance. If you're 100%, you have to be 100% with a total and permanent rating. Many people are just 100% but don't have a total and permanent rating. Total and permanent means that you're not subjected by the VA to come back in for what is called a future exam. So ask your representative to give you what's called your code sheet. Your code sheet will tell you, every code sheet is generated with every rating decision. So your code sheet will tell you if you have any RFEs, returns for future exams. And if you don't, and if you're 100, then you're eligible for DEA. Okay. And so, okay, I currently have 40% VA disability. In the past years of arthritis, which was documented during service, has gotten much worse to the point where I currently walk with a cane. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And certainly if you're going to go in for a comp and pen exam, if you use assistive devices, it's important to show up with those devices, for example, a cane or a bracer or a walker or whatever have you. Okay, I'm worried that if I go through a reevaluation that my disability could be reduced. I had 24 years of service and I'm now 78. God bless you and thank you for your service. I would not, if you want to go in essentially to effectively be reevaluated, you have to be very careful that you're not going in to be reevaluated for a disability that you're already service connected for. If you're really content with that evaluation, they're only going to reevaluate you if it's something new you're claiming, or if you're claiming an increase in something you're already service connected for, or if your condition is known to them to be one that is likely to improve. And so they'll subject you to a future evaluation. In being mindful of time right now, and I know there are a variety of other questions, I apologize. I just want to be mindful. Again, my phone number, 914-882-8223. Please text me. My website, www.consultvets.com. And my email address, Rudy, R-U-D-Y, S. Melson, M as in Mike, E-L-S-O-N, at consultvets.com. Rudy S. Melson at consultvets.com. I'd like to introduce someone who's very special to my organization. Her name is Mrs. Daisy Sanchez, and Daisy is an esthetician, and among her specialties, she specializes in providing esthetician services to our American veteran and military communities. Her sister is a 3-time combat veteran, and she's seen firsthand the effects of what PTSD can do to a loved one. And she's very passionate about having veterans feel beautiful and look beautiful. And military service can, especially for our combat veterans, many of them who have been blown up and had all kinds of disfigurement, they can feel many times, unfortunately, a little less beautiful than they truly are. And so Daisy's very passionate about helping them look and feel just as beautiful as they possibly can. She is the owner of an organization called Lux Beauty Boutique, and my organization refers our clients for a variety of spa services, if you will, to her. She's also based here in San Diego and Mira Mesa, and she discounts her services for any veteran or military service member to include their family members. She's very passionate about making sure that she takes care of our vets. So without further ado, I'm going to just have her come over here and say hello and talk a little bit about the different services that she provides. And if she wants to provide her contact information so you can reach out to her and perhaps her website. So Daisy.
Hi, Daisy. I'm an esthetician. I've been an esthetician for about 6 years now. I specialize in anti-aging, acne, vitamin C facials. I also do light waxing on the face, a little bit of makeup. You can reach me at daisy@luxbeauties.com. You can also look up all my services and pricing on luxbeauties.com.
Can you spell that out?
It's luxbeauties.com.
Okay, and very well. And do you accept, how would you like people to contact you?
You contact me through email.
Okay, can you spell out your email for everyone?
Sure. It's daisy@luxbeauty.com. It's DAISY. Lux Beauties is LUXBEATI. Sorry, BEAUTIES.com.
Okay, Okay, great. Thank you very much,
You're
Daisy.
welcome.
All right. Okay. So, for any of you who are looking to take your families on a nice spa day and have it be at something, a cost that's very affordable, and to be taken care of. She's amazing with her talents, and this is really what she went to school for. She wanted to give back to the veteran community. She's seeing so many veterans come home disfigured, and she services a lot of people, a lot of our veterans and their family members. So I hope you'll take advantage of it just as soon as you're able to. Again, she's based here in San Diego. To that end, okay, so I see we still have some more questions here. And I just wanted to get a time check on how we're doing on time. So Gloria, Tracy, if you want to let me know how we're doing on time so that I can address. Okay, got it. All right. And so here we are. And let's see if I can address some of these questions. Yes, VSOs are back to work to my knowledge, but I don't know if they're working remotely or what the situation is. I think some offices may be back, just maybe reduced staffed or maybe just reduced in-person staff. Okay, to that end, is it true that there is a cutoff of the percentage given for a particular disability? Yes, it is true. Disabilities have maximum evaluations, and to that end, it's all available through the VA schedule of ratings. For example, tinnitus has a maximum evaluation of 10%. Now, let's say your disability is really, really severe and the symptoms and the circumstances surrounding it exceed what the schedule provides for. VA can petition to the Director of Compensation and Pension in Washington for you to have what's called an extra schedular compensation. So you do have people out there that, even though tinnitus is only 10%, that are so severely debilitated by that, the VA will make them 100% just based on tinnitus. So just keep that in mind. There's a schedular max, and then there's also a max by way of an extra schedular evaluation. Okay. DEA, okay, not indicated in the rating award. I'm 100% but denied Chapter 35. You have to make sure if you were granted a total and permanent rating. That's the key. So that's something to inquire about. What is the VA form for buddy statement? A VA form 21-4138. 21-4138. What does deferred mean? Deferred means that VA does not yet have enough evidence or information to make a decision. So they have deferred the decision because, let's say, they're pending the results of an exam, or they need you to attend an exam so that they can get the results of it, or maybe they need to order more records, or many times they'll go back internally to the examiner and say, hey, the results of your exam need to be clarified or augmented in some way. So that's what deferred means. Okay, what happens if you're granted a 0% for headaches but no increase? Last year I was able to get 70% for PTSD. What with current records? Okay, the VA does not have the medical records. Okay, so many of these questions I'd have to look into specifically, and I will if you reach out to me. I can promise you that I'll represent every single person that is part of our experience tonight. All you have to do is reach out to me. I have a full team here, ready and willing and happy to assist you, and I would work with you directly. I apologize. The last question that was on the screen, I didn't. It went away too fast. If you could bring that one back. Okay. So there we go. Hypothyroidism. What's the rating? There are different ratings for it. It just depends on the severity of your symptoms. My phone number again is 914-882-8223. Okay. Do you help with benefits in getting a headstone? Yes, I do. I help with all claims for all benefits, National Cemetery Administration, Veterans Health Administration, and Veterans Benefits Administration. Okay. Do you help with benefits in getting a headstone for veterans buried in a non-national cemetery? Yes, I do. People can be reimbursed for expenses associated with the last illness of the veteran, as well as they can be reimbursed for the cost of burial, funeral, cremation expenses as well in certain instances. Claustrophobia is not I mean, you can claim anything if that's really what you're asking. If claustrophobia is part of another depending on the manifestation of it, or if it's part of another diagnosable condition, because VA just considers it to be something that is symptomatic or transient in nature, because one person can't always be claustrophobic, because you can't live in a space that always makes you claustrophobic. So they considered it an acute scenario for you to be mindful of. Okay. I was rated non-combat PTSD when I was in a campaign and also service connected in Operation United Shield. Okay. I would have to look into that for you to see what's going on there. Happy to do so. And let's see if there's anything else that, okay, how hard is it to get compensated for survivor's remorse? So survivor's remorse would manifest itself into a rating for depression or anxiety, or even PTSD. Many people have PTSD because of incidents that are associated where they are among the few, if not the only survivor of a particular traumatic event, and they have remorse from that. So you would use the symptom and ascribe it to a larger underlying condition. Okay. Survived leukemia 10 years ago. All right. Congratulations. I was in the shipyard dry deck as a seaman almost 40 years ago, grinding red lead, exposed to asbestos, etc. Could I link my leukemia to my end of year exposure? Potentially, yes. And you can allege a nexus, a theory for a nexus whenever you want, but it would have to ultimately be backed up by a medical professional saying, yes, there is a linkage here. Okay. Okay, Agent Orange and bladder cancer. I originally filed 8 years ago for this condition, have appealed many times over that period, including an appeal that currently was 13. Okay, so again, that would be a case-specific situation that I'd be happy to look into for you if you'd like to contact me. Right now, VA's come out with a variety of new conditions that are known to be related to Agent Orange exposure. For example, leukemia, bladder cancer, a variety of respiratory conditions and skin conditions, and so on and so forth, a variety of cancers. They're also providing service connection for bronchial asthma and sinusitis, among other conditions that are for our Gulf War veterans who have been exposed to burn pits. And that's something very recent. I mean, just within the recent weeks, they've started sending out letters to thousands and thousands of our Gulf War veterans from both the first and most recent Persian Gulf conflicts. So there's a lot of benefits that are on the way. Okay. Okay. So 90% of my, what form is the VA buddy statement? 21-4138. I'm 90% service connected, and my doctor won't sign off on the permanent disabled placard until I'm 100% service connected on a single mobility. Is that true? Yes, it is true. There are, I think, maybe 4 or 5 different categories that would warrant you being able to get a disabled placard. I would suggest consulting with your physician on that, but single mobility is one of them. Okay. Every decision, by the way, has a favorable findings section because that's required by law for VA to be able to tell you, the veteran, essentially what is favorable toward your claim, so that you have the opportunity to perfect your claim or appeal in a subsequent prosecutorial effort. Okay. All right. And let's see here. I'm just looking here. Okay, I would like to know, if I put in for an increase in disability compensation for chronic rhinitis due to burn pit exposure, will they look at the rest of my disabilities and reevaluate those as well? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. They're going to look at the disability that you're claiming, or the disabilities that you have already claimed and are connected for, that pertain to the bodily system that is part and parcel of the disability that you are claiming. Okay, what is the status of Blue Water Navy claims? They're open and active. If you are within, I believe it's like 8 or 9 nautical miles airlander sea from a qualifying area of Vietnam or Thailand and other areas in the Vietnam waters, then you you potentially are eligible for an Agent Orange related condition to be service connected for it. What happens if you granted 0% for headaches but no increase? Last year I was able to get 70% for PTSD with current meds. VA does not have any of my medical records. So you would apply for an increase, and one thought might be, you might argue that chronic sleep impairment and stress associated with your PTSD is aggravating your headaches beyond the normal course of its progression. And so there you have a theory of entitlement for an increase claim right there. Okay. Is there a possibility of retroactive disability pay? I've had severe chronic gout for 25 years, but just made it service connected this year. Unfortunately not. They only go back to when you have filed a claim, and if that claim has an intent to file associated with it, then that's when you would actually, that would be the effective date. Hypothyroidism, I believe, I don't quote me on this because I'd have to have the schedule in front of me, but I do believe that it has, I think, a max of 60%. To that end, let me see here. Okay. I'm trying to just go over here down to the rest of the questions. Okay, I applied for disabilities for depression. I was denied. I didn't appeal. 21 back to VA. This time I was diagnosed with PTSD at 60% cumulatively. Okay, so that's a case-by-case basis. If the decision you're wanting to appeal is more than a year old, you would have to prove, or I would have to prove if I represent you, that there was a clear and unmistakable error there. Okay. I see here. Okay, so by all means, I think that's all the time that I've been given. I would like to answer everyone's question. I apologize to those of you that I didn't get to answer directly, but you've got my contact information. Please do reach out to me. I will help you as best as I possibly can. God bless you all, and thank you for your service.
Your presentation, yes, we have a lot of questions. A lot of people need your help. So we'll definitely make sure that everyone has your contact information. And remember, folks, he said to send him an email first, because he does get a lot of calls and messages, and also please definitely send him an email first. Dr. Melson, again, thank you very much. Thank you to Daisy and everyone. We look forward to seeing you on our next event. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, if I may, my email address is Rudy S with the middle initial, yes. Rudy S Melson, and that's yes. Melson with an M. Yeah, Rudy S Melson at consultvets.com, and you have my phone number as well. You can text me, email me. I look forward to helping all of you again as much as I possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again.